Good afternoon and good morning, wherever you are in the world. It's going to be a chill out night tonight, but we are going to be having a conversation about a number of different issues. And when I say chill out, I do mean chill out. I think I've more or less got my sleep patterns back in order, hopefully. But I'll wait for a few people to tune in. Give me a 5v5 if you can see and hear me. So 5v5 in the chat if you can see and hear me. Touch wood you all can. Not sure if my other bit I put in today. We'll put that up there. And go back to the other chat again. Give me a 5v5 if you can see and hear me. Well done, people. Right, so there's quite a bit going on at the moment. I'm not sure about what's going on with Iran. Some people are saying, and I've confirmed it, that America has told everyone to leave Iran. Generally speaking, that's not a good sign, for obvious reasons. They've told them there's going to be no internet. They've told them that if you can't get a flight out, which I find a bit odd, that you should cross by land to a number of places. One of them was Turkey. I can't remember what the other one was. But generally speaking, it's not a good idea. So, to be in Iran at the moment, if you're an American or any other type of citizen. Epstein files did mention, I believe, that, and I did read it, that I was going to try and I was planning this for years, to start World War III in February the 8th, 2026. Find it odd that you've got two massive fleets sitting in the Middle East region waiting to kick off. But there's a lot of things, there's a lot of playing on and going on that I don't actually like. But that's not the main element for tonight. Let me see if I can find this for you. Right, so on your screen, as we speak, hopefully we can do a short of this. I put this out today on Twitter. Unionism, there's a British flag, is not nationalism. And there's the English flag. Unionism is centralised control using administrative lawfare to control and coerce. Unionism is a prerequisite to globalism. In other words, it's a building block, right? It only seeks to consume and destroy nations. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because still people like Rupert Lowe don't appear to be listening. Certainly, another group of people, the British National Party, Britain First, the Homeland Party, they're all the same. If Rupert Lowe was serious about restructuring, and I've already sent a tweet out to him today, that if you was running a business, a large scale business, and you was brought in, you had great assets. So the assets are the people, the knowledge, the skill sets, and it was obvious the structure of the business had gone pear-shaped and the management of the business had gone pear-shaped, but the assets were still good, right? You've then got a very strong chance of saving not only the assets, but rebuilding the company, right? A good CEO, of any company would listen to all the options on the table, because sometimes it's the option that you wasn't aware of that makes you think, right? It's fairly simple to remove us from the United Nations, all agreements, all ratifications of the United Nations, any and all European laws, any of the negative impositions that the British Parliament have placed on the people and when I say the people, I mean the English, the Welsh, the Irish, Northern Irish, the Cornish and the Scottish. All of those impositions, all of those statutes would be null and void if you void the Acts of Union. The major group of people that suppress and oppress the English as the largest nation are Israelis, are Zionists. Zionism is, without any doubts whatsoever, and Israel is an ethno-nationalist state. The bit I don't understand about people like Homeland Party, in particular, Britain First, in particular, Conservative and Union Party, in particular, Labour Party, and even the SNP. What I don't understand is how any of them can't understand the simple logic of the understanding what unionism is, and waving the union flag is not nationalism, because the union is a unitary state, not a country. England is a country, Scotland is a country, Wales is a principality, it can return back to being a nation. Cornwall is part of England. I respect the people of Cornwall, and if they decide that they want to be an independent nation, it is their decision. That is what self-determination is. Northern Ireland, as far as I can see, should be completely independent, but be a protectorate of England, not the British. The British wouldn't exist when you void the Acts of Union. But the point I'm trying to make to everyone is the simplest way to solve the problems, to remove the globalist control, is to void the Acts of Union. The SNP and ALBA are very British in the way that they attack the English, the way they continuously blame the English when they know, one, that many of their jobs in Scotland rely on what the English are chucking over that border in terms of finance. Over 250,000 jobs directly rely on the administration of the British state. For the SNP or ALBA wanting to become independent and then rejoin the European Union, that is not an independence party. That is a unionist party. They're just deciding they want a different union to one that they've got. They want a communist union. You're now seeing in the European Union, Spain in particular, being the nation. I've got some noise going on here, but I don't know what it is. Let me just send this message back. So again, we've got to make sure that we convey this to people. But before I go any further with this, again, this is a chill out night. So what I'm going to do is just make sure you've all seen that on the screen and everyone understands what it is. So we need to do some sort of short that explains this in a very succinct way. Unionism is not nationalism. Unionism is centralised control using administrative lawfare to control and coerce. Unionism is a prerequisite to globalism. It only seeks to consume and destroy nations. And we need to go back to a common law brotherhood of nations. A common law union is not a statutory union that is currently enforced today that seeks to destroy England by regionalising it into 9 regions. The UK is 12 regions. It's often misquoted. It is 12 regions. They have already succeeded in regionalising London, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. And people need to understand exactly what's going on. So, there it is. I have just told you that. I am there now going to show you something else briefly. And don't forget, at 9 o'clock, I am going over to the 412 We the People channel on Rumble. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And it is imperative that you share. Sharing is caring, right? So everyone should understand that. I popped in the pub tonight. The Chase the Joker was up to, I think it's £1,300, the jackpot. Put my name in, obviously bought some tickets, and my name got pulled out. So I chose the card. And the card I chose was, on as it went round, was number 48, and I didn't win. But it goes on again next Friday. If you're not in it, you can't win it. All right. So, but everyone, the pub was packed. 412 5B5. Is 412 in here tonight or not? Or is he having a look? So what I'm going to do now, hopefully, is show you something else. Let's see if there's anything coming up on the yeah, so someone's just said about an interview with a bishop in Tucker Carlson. It was a fantastic interview. I watched it. Let me have a quick look. Let me just put in there. Let me have a quick look. Right, so I'm going to show you something. We're going to be talking very briefly about Epstein. There's so much going on at the moment. I can sense and feel bad stuff. And by the way, I'm in another drawer tonight. It is safe to say, because they've shut the drawer down, in the Aspire, I'm in it for a Land Rover and a Volkswagen camper. So if there's anyone who is psychic out there and wants me to win either a Land Rover or a Volkswagen camper, both valued in excess of £50,000, meaning individually 50 grand, it's a very short draw, so there's not many tickets, and I've got some tickets, not bundles, like, but I've got. If you ain't in it, you can't win it. So if there's anyone out there that believes in the power of prayer, and that you want me to win the Land Rover, or let's see if I can bring it up on the screen here. Yeah, I'll bring it up on the screen. But what I don't want to do is anything else to come up on the screen. Oh, touch wood that you can still see that. Let's see if I can show you this. Touch wood, there's nothing else going to come on the screen. There it is there. Right. So I'm in it tonight. The Land Rover Defender 90D250 plus 2 grand in cash. That gets drawn at 9 o'clock. They've only sold 45% of the tickets, which makes it very good odds if you're in that. a Volkswagen T7 camper van, a Dub Alchemy, Scandi style build, 6th of February. So tonight, that's being drawn at 9 o'clock as well. And 61%. It's not so good odds. It's much better than being 100%. But I thought I'd show you that. So they're the vehicles. If you can will and pray that I win one of them, I'd be very grateful. Let me just make sure I go back to my main screen. Did you all see them, by the way, on the screen? Let me have a quick look. Lotto suckers gone up in the bullions, yeah. And don't forget, pray up you, DD. May the force be with you. That exactly that. I'll tell you what. If you're not in it, you can't win it. It's as simple as that. So at least we're having a go. And it's not as if I have torn the arse out of it with the tickets. Let me have a quick look. Ooh. Let's make sure that I am on there. What I don't want to do is put any of that up. Let me take that back down. I'm going to show you something else because it's really important. There it is. And then I'm going to get on and talk about something slightly different. I'm going to hold that. Let's put this down. Now I want to put Charlie Kirk up. Charlie Kirk identified Jeffrey Epstein as an Israeli agent running a blackmail operation on your country. Doesn't sound like the behaviour of your greatest ally, does it? Right? And then what you've got is this. So I'm going to put this up. I want you to listen carefully to what he's saying. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. But here it is.
Realize that Epstein, with his little friend Ghislaine and Ghislaine's father, Robert Maxwell, who was obviously a spy of the Israeli intelligence agencies, that there was something else going on here. Epstein was not some sort of whiz kid hedge fund manager. Epstein was playing a part. Epstein was a LARPer. Epstein was cast for a specific role, and he played it really well. The sweatpants and the Harvard jacket, the kind of disheveled hair, looking as if he was so smart and above the clouds that he was doing advanced mathematic equations on the back of napkins. But if you actually go into some of the videos of people that met with Epstein at the time, they said he was awfully unimpressive when it came to finance and markets and economics. And it's nothing new that if you're in the intel agencies, you want to try and get as much blackmail on powerful people as possible. Easy, not hard. And this is no longer just speculation. First of all, the evidence that shows that Epstein was a creation of either Mossad, Israeli intelligence, American intelligence, Saudi intelligence, or maybe he was just a hired gun. Maybe he was just the guy that countries would go to and park a couple $100 million and say, hey, can you get one of the members of the royal family with a 13-year-old so we can get them to do what we want to do? Members of Congress are actively being blackmailed. The Epstein playbook is being used on a daily basis. Jeffrey Epstein was not a financier. He was not a hedge fund manager. Jeffrey Epstein was a key player in a multi-decade blackmail operation against the most powerful people on the planet. Lies.
Right. I just want to make sure everyone is clear on this, right? So I'm going to take that back down and I'm going to go to another element, which is this. Share this tab instead. Now, I've done a program about this before. Does everyone remember? I was sitting there talking to my dad, and my dad, bearing in mind he's coming up to 96, said to me, you know, the Jews used to say to your granddad, right, that it's our country and it's your king. We're not interested in the king. We're interested in the country and the resources of the country and the wealth of the country. We're not interested in your king, right? And there was a particular guy that my dad mentioned, right? And I went away and researched him because my dad has got he's political. He always voted Labour, by the way, even though he had 2 factories, properties. He always worked on a lathe all his life. He was an engineer, right? Or he is an engineer. Going to his house, it's like gadgety. Like, even he sits in his chair because he can't get out of it. He's built little things and he pulls things and puts stuff on and he does all these things to make his life a bit more comfortable. But the point is, he told me about this guy, Sydney Stanley, right? And I said, who's he? And he said it was a massive scandal. And he said it was an Israeli. He said he was a Polish Jew that come over here, so Ashkenazi Jew, right? Bearing in mind I've mentioned the pogroms before. This is, again, no one else is talking about any of this. And especially in the early 1900s, there was pogroms coming from Eastern Europe. They started causing problems in England, the Jews, and the English Jews, right, went over to Eastern Europe, particularly Romania, and said, stop sending Jews to England because you're destroying the culture, right? It's got to end. So what they did then was they still allowed them to cross the Channel and come into Dover, but they took them straight up to Liverpool, which is why Liverpool is such a communist part of the UK. And then from Liverpool, because a lot of them settled there, but a lot of them also got on boats and went straight out to America. And now you can see the state of America, right? Why am I mentioning this? Because I want to tell you the story of Sydney Stanley. And I'll just do it from Wikipedia, but it's an interesting story. Sydney Stanley, and he had many aliases: Solomon Walkan, alias Solomon Kokoski, Stanley Rothschild, and alias Skolmo Ben Chaim, was a Polish emigre to the UK who became an unethical businessman before claiming to be a contact man who could influence politicians and civil servants in exchange for cash bribes. In 1948, when Israel became Israel with a petition, his claim of being a political fixer led to a great scandal and an investigation of public corruption by the Lynchty Tribunal, right? And there's the actual tribunal there. Lynchty Tribunal was a British government inquiry set up in October 1948 to investigate rumours of possible corruption in the Board of Trade. Under the chairmanship of a High Court Judge, Sir George Lynchty, it sat in November and December of 1948, hearing testimony from some 60 witnesses. Now, just think about what's going on with Epstein now. Think about what Charlie's just said about Maxwell, Robert Maxwell, who was also an Israeli agent. Think about all of that, and he's saying it's gone on for decades. I'm telling you, it's gone on for thousands of years, and we was infiltrated in the 16 and 1700s, and in particularly in the 1800s, and then again in the 1900s. There's waves of them that come in, right? Moreover, Stanley spied against the UK on behalf of Ergon. If you don't know who Ergon is, Ergon, officially the national military organisation in the land of Israel, often abbreviated as Etzel or IZL, was a Zionist paramilitary organisation, basically terrorists, that operated in mandatory Palestine between 1931 and 1948. They're the ones who was killing the British troops, booby trapping their bodies and blowing up the King David Hotel, right? And in 1948, it was an offshoot of the older and larger Jewish group, and it tells you who they are. And afterwards was placed under heavy legal restrictions and police surveillance. In 1949, he evaded the police and fled to France and thence to Israel, where the government granted Stanley citizenship through the law of return, and lived the remainder of his life in relative obscurity. They just blend in out there, right? Now, there is another one, which I haven't pulled up on the screen, which is Hansard having quite serious debates at the time about these events, right? And even 20 years later, they were still talking about it. Again, my dad, who's 96, remembered this and said to me, you should look into that, because that was a massive story. And this, again, reminds me when we all went out and sat in a restaurant with the Iranian kid who was like just short of 30 years old. And then we was having a discussion about Iran. He was Iranian. And I said, where did you learn this? And he said to me, where do you know so much about what's going on? Because like we was having a really good conversation. And he said to us, my great grandfather is 105. And he has told me all the things that was going on. We sit there and listen to him, right? The elders can still give you this information, and that's exactly like going back to my old books and showing people what our elders actually writ, without any of this nonsense of political correctness, right? Solomon Walton Sydney Stanley was born the eldest son of 12 children in Poland in 1913. Stanley emigrated to Britain with his father and were joined by the rest of the family and lived in Aldgate. He later said he was born in Oshwin, I don't know where that is. He was granted a Polish passport in 1927. He gave an ambitious account of his early career, ambiguous account of his early career, claiming been employed from the age of 14 in trade, in the garment business and government contracts. Stanley assumed and used his mother's surname, Kozowski, as one of his identities. After the First World War, 1914 to 18, Stanley married his first wife, Kate Zetlin, and they lived with his mother-in-law in Stoke Newington. Stanley was bankrupt in 1927 under the name Walkan, and was again bankrupt in 1936 under the name of Bloggs. And in 1933, the British government ordered his deportation for being a criminal, specifically for a conspiracy to defraud. Though he proved untraceable, however, by 1946, Stanley had established himself as a luxurious 7-room flat in Park Lane, no less. Meeting with Gibson, and again, it goes into more detail about Manchester. Gibson is the director of the Bank of England. Gibson account is that his party had asked Stanley for small change for their game, and that Stanley had recognised Gibson through the common acquaintance of Cyril Ross. Gibson met Stanley several more times in Manchester train before, in April 1947, running into him in the company of Marcus Walkan, an American who had been involved in economic assistance to Britain during World War II, and who was slightly known to Gibson. Stanley represented Walkan as being his brother, blah, 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 right? As a subsequent dinner party attended by Morgan Phillips and 4 other Labour MPs, Stanley became involved in raising finance for the anti-communist Freedom and Democracy organisation, though he appears to have done little more than donate a cheque of 50 quid, which was dishonoured. Stanley, and again it goes into more detail here, but what I'm trying to say to people, so again, for everyone that should understand this, in 1947, MI5 report recorded that a man named Stanley had been passing information to Ergon, the terrorist organisation, from Cabinet Minister Manny Shinwell. Shinwell certainly knew Stanley. He had approached for help in finding employment for his son Ernie, and Stanley obtained information on the disbandment of the Transjordan Frontier Force, right? So Jordan, from some government source. And then it goes on about the football pools and some other bits and pieces. But what's really important here, all of it's important. Jacob Harris's supplier of amusement machines, whose solicitor also acted for Stanley. The solicitor had originally met Stanley through serving a bankruptcy notice on him and ended up as his attorney. So again, there's lots of stuff. This is a really good read if you go all the way through it. But the main thing that people should understand, that he was a spy, right? So again, what I'm going to try and do is find the part in here that tells you what he did. But basically, he escaped custody in his country, went to France. He was part of Ergon. He was part of Ergon, then became the IDF. So he was like military intelligence. He then went literally to Israel. But if you start to look at the depth of the corruption with the British government in 1949 and with the Bank of England and all these people, it caused a massive problem, by the way. He was also associated with the guy that set up. Literally, let me see if I. This is the bit I want to show you. In February 1948, Gibson introduced Financial Secretary to the Treasury, Glenville Hall, to Stanley, believing that Marcus Wilkin might be in a position to arrange an American loan of $250 million. Think of that in 1949 to the UK government. At a dinner for Gibson on 23rd of March, Stanley ensured that he sat next to Foreign Secretary Ernest Bevin. Right now, bearing in mind, just 3 years before that, there was a major alert in England because Ergon and the Stern gang had sent Jewish terrorists, they call them paramilitaries, to assassinate our foreign secretary, who was not a Zionist, right? So all I'm doing is showing you exactly what went on. So if anyone thinks, and I'm going to go back to this now, if anyone thinks this is some, all I'm trying to do is show you this is continuous. It's never stopped, right? And I'm showing you the evidence directly, and you can go and read about these people. By the way, there's lots more, but because of the way the media operates, they don't tell you about any of these things, right? When could you couldn't even go on alternative media and talk to people and tell people what's actually going on. I'm not sure what that is that's coming up on my screen. So let me have a quick look. Don't forget, we're going over to the 412 show at 9 o'clock. And I'll probably be on there for quite some time having a discussion about a few different things. Let me see what else we got coming up on here at the moment. So like I said, tonight really was about a chat. No one else is speaking about this. No one's bringing this up. Whilst Epstein was obviously well connected, so were these people, and there's a lot more of them, but you're not seeing them. These and they are the Jewish mafia, Ergon, Stern Gang, IDF, Mossad, which it's now called. They are deeply embedded into many countries. I think the only country that has told them to foxtrot Oscar completely is China and Russia, and possibly Iran to some degree. But I want everyone to realise that even do you remember the Russian guy? I forget his name. His daughter got bombed, and they killed his daughter. He put a tweet out, and he turned around and said, "It is a parody for anyone to say that Christianity and Judaism are aligned. They are not. It's the opposite, right?" And he absolutely told it in a very short paragraph. He told it how it is. So all I'm doing tonight is just saying that. So tell me what you think of what I've said. So, if you heard of Sydney Stanley, have you heard of the depths of this type of information? Again, you've just seen Charlie. We've shown you a clip of Charlie Kirk that started to flip and telling people. I think they've started to panic. I think Israel has started to panic. There's part of me sort of thinks, what if that fleet actually turns on Israel rather than Iran? I'm not suggesting that will happen, but it wouldn't surprise me. People were saying that they think, or they was thinking, that Ukraine was actually being emptied out for the Jews. What if Alberta is being made into an independent state for the Jews? There's something going on, right? And it's very complex, and it's coming to a head. Anyone got any views on that? Let me know. And again, we're going to be returning in a couple of minutes to the discussions on the first week of the rape and torture inquiry that everyone helped pay for. Any questions from anyone in the audience? Jews are interested in Argentina. There is definitely something going on, but I can't put my finger on it. I'm just a normal everyday person just like you, but there is something definitely going on. I find it odd, more than odd, that these things are actually going on. Chagos DD, did you see Trump's statement? Yeah, what did Trump? I did see what Trump had said about that. Basically, he said if anything goes wrong with the lease, we will defend it and take it back. Basically, he's saying he will conquer that island. But they're not happy at all, the Americans, with what they're doing. But it almost seems like they're showing you how corrupt they are. But one person who's just as corrupt, more than most will ever know, is Nigel Farage. And I think Trump knows that, by the way. Let me have a quick look. Middlesex man, don't forget, we are aiming to start telling people we need to take Middlesex back and reinstate Middlesex, which we should do as England. Yes, Israel destroyed my family. That's my view. Yeah. Israel is not good. Zionism is not good. And anyone who believes that Christianity is in any way aligned with Judaism is not a Christian. Anyone else seen the news about IDF bulldozing the Allied Commonwealth war graves in Gaza? No, I haven't seen that. Is that actually true? If you got a link to that, we'll bring it up. Benjamin Disraeli warned of usury. And again, Benjamin Disraeli, that's another thing that the guy said from Russia. He said any Jew that converts to Christianity has rejected Judaism because he knows it's of Satan. And that is exactly what Benjamin Disraeli did. Do you remember that guy that was, I forget what his name, Andrew Gold, who said that Disraeli was a Jew? No, he wasn't. He wasn't a Jew. He was a Christian. And his father come out of Judaism and took his son out of the synagogue and said to the rabbis, I do not want you teaching my children. Just to make sure everyone understands that. Mary Aldin, can we ditch the Tyne Wear district and go back to being Northumberland? Yeah. Northumberland should always be Northumberland. Wilner, hello. Don't forget, we got the seminar coming up on the 28th of February in Cumbria. That is going to be important, and I do need people to start advertising that, promoting it as much as possible on social media. Everyone should be joining in doing that for the simple reason Cumbria is, I think it was 97 or 98% white. Anyone who lives there should be able to confirm that, right? And the reason why they've started to put mosques there is we shall build and they will come, right? They want to start pushing people into them areas. It's exactly what they've been doing everywhere else. And the only way you're going to solve this problem is to void the Acts of Union and take out all of the structures that are currently in place, and then turn around to the Mohammedans and say, off ski. And to the Jewish people that want to pursue and attack us like they have been doing. And let me tell you something, there's plenty of Jews in this country who do not agree with Zionism whatsoever. Do you have a post about iGame? About what? What's iGame? Holy England, yes, Graham, true, about 96%. That's what I mean. And when they start talking about levelling up, they actually mean they're going to make Cumbria and Devon in particular. Cumbria and Devon are going to be saturated. So where you've got 20 million foreigners, mainly black and brown people in London, somewhere in the region of 64%, right? And 64% of 20 mil, it'd be relatively easy, right? To grab hold of a million of them people, which they've already started to do, saying the countryside is too white. It's not diverse enough. We need minorities in the countryside, right? That's why they've started that narrative. So we already know they're going to start flooding the areas, whether it's Cumbria and Devon is crucial to the English Constitution. So they need to start to attack. That is exactly what they're doing. And let me just make sure everyone's aware of this. This is not a conspiracy theory, right? This is conspiracy fact, and it needs to be presented to a jury for treason. Blackmail in Berkshire, 83% white, now getting Afghanistan and Indian arriving. Yep, no, that's exactly what they're doing. Exactly what they're doing. People don't realise, and all them people out there at the moment still being politically correct. I'll take me out off to Steve Laws to push that forward. And the fact that he left the Homeland Party. Why he left them, I don't know. But I think it was because they was unionists, which is one of the reasons technically I left the English Democrats. They weren't anywhere near fierce enough. And all they wanted to do was carry on and just put an English flag on a British Parliament and carry on ruling us as if they was Brits. And I weren't having that. I said we need to go back to being England, independent counties and shires, and void the Acts of Union. And the English Democrats was flip-flopping, playing silly political games, and they are typical civnats. And a civnat is unionists are civnats. The real nationalists are not civnats. And constitutionalists are not civnats. Mark is fine, and diversity is their strength. I'll never yield, nor will I. So don't forget, everyone, sharing is caring. The more you share, the more you care. Get that information out there. I'm actually going to stop for 5 minutes in a minute because I need to quickly have something to eat. And not much, just a quick munch, and then go on at 9 o'clock. The draw is at 9 o'clock. I don't think so. What you need to do is collectively envision me with that vehicle and winning the Aspire. Everyone pray at the same time for me to win it, and I'm sure I'll win it. Steve Laws knows what's got to be done. No, I agree. But again, at the moment. I mean, some of the stuff I've seen Rupert Lowe come out with today, he's definitely growing on me, even though he said some things I disagree with. By the way, the other thing I will say to you is anyone who has ordered products from Youngevity UK, Youngevity Supplements UK, Jonathan, rest in peace, has passed away at the age of 48. That's all I can say at the moment, but I have spoken to his wife today. So Jonathan has passed away. She's only 3 weeks ago. She's struggling with the audience. She's struggling with the business. She's struggling with the grief. But she said she wants to carry on running the business. She wants to carry on doing this, etc. I had a chat with her today. I said, if I can help you in any way, just let me know. And you know, I'll just tell people, especially from this show, if you've ordered anything, be patient, right? There is a reason why there's a bit of, and it was never like that with Jonathan. If you went on his website, he used to answer every question straight away, and the little chat bot thing was him, right? It wasn't AI. So all I'm trying to do is make sure everyone understands that unfortunately Jonathan has died. He passed away about 3 weeks ago. That's it. I am going to clock off. I know this is a short show. Trust me, there's a lot going on. It's very difficult to work out what's going on. I think Sunday is going to be very telling. Something is going on out there. I'm not 100%. I can't listen. I'm just trying to fathom out what's going on myself. But there is so much information coming out. People are being made aware of the amount of corruption at the highest level. And I've said it once and I've said it a million times. Operation Countryman in the 70s didn't go far enough. They might have took out a few crooked coppers in London, but they left the crooked solicitors, barristers, judges, lords and MPs alone. And I think we're now suffering a consequence of that. So don't forget, sharing is caring. The more you get it out there, the better. All of the assistance. I am grateful for donations coming in. Don't forget, hit the donation buttons out there if you can, because that does actually help me. Let me see if I can find my... where would I go to find my donations? Add a donation. Carrying pads, integration. What's that one? No doubt I've got it somewhere. Right, anyway, let's see what comes in. I'm sure someone will have the link for it. Manage donations, recurring. Link. I ain't got it on there. I've got to find out where I've got to relearn how to use it all. But there you go. Who else is out there? Let me see if this is out there. The Guardian. So it's bulldoze Gaza war cemeteries. Satellite. That's disgusting. That's disgusting if they've done that. I think they're deliberately winding people up. Let me have a quick look and see if I can see that. What date was that? I'm not sure I've got a date on there. Satellite, 4th of February. Revealed Israel bulldozed part of Gaza war cemetery containing Allied graves. Satellite images and witness testimony showed destruction as IDF claims it was forced to take defensive measures. What a lot of bollocks. And I can tell you now, it does appear that they're very upset with President Trump because he's pushing forward with a two-state solution. Let me have a look at this one. And let's see if there's any links coming up there. Right, I am going to say good night, God bless. Right, again, I will be, whoever's got the link there, can you put the link out? I am going over to 412. As many of you as possible and can get over there would be really grateful. And I'll be seeing you soon. Yeah, is 412 on Rumble? Yeah, hopefully the link's going to be out there. Tracy and others will put the link out there. So I'm not going to end the stream. I'm just going to hit the camera. Don't forget what I believe in. The Constitution is the solution. And we need to really start pushing our events. People are listening to us, by the way.